The Krevnari had made their first mistake when they assumed humans mourned like civilized species. Apex Lera stood before the assembly of 37 cubs in the observation dome of Station Helix 9, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as Earth rotated slowly beneath them. At 63 cycles, she was one of the eldest humans in the diplomatic corps, her silver hair braided in the traditional manner of the Apex rank, the highest honor given to those who'd raised more than 10 generations of humanity's children. "The stars don't care about our feelings," she was saying, her voice carrying across the transparent chamber. "They don't care if we're afraid, if we're angry, if we—" The plasma bolt caught her in the chest. Cub Soren saw it happen from his position in the third row. The Krevnari ambassador, all 8 feet of scaled fury, had materialized from a personal cloak field, his weapon still glowing. He'd been ranting about territorial violations, about human expansion, about the audacity of a species barely 3 centuries into space travel. Apex Lera crumpled mid-word, her body folding like a discarded paper crane. The Krevnari expected screaming. His species' young would have scattered, shrieking for their parents, traumatized beyond function. Even the stoic Velrathi cubs would have frozen in shock, their neural patterns disrupting for days. The human cubs did neither. 37 children, ranging from ages 8 to 14 in Earth years, turned as one toward the shooter. Their faces held something the Krevnari's translator couldn't quite process, not rage, not fear, but something colder, something older. Cub Soren moved first. At 12, he was mid-pack in age, unremarkable in appearance with brown hair and darker eyes. He stepped forward, and the others followed, forming a loose circle around the Krevnari ambassador. The alien's weapons swiveled, tracking targets, but there were too many, moving too calmly, too deliberately. They began to whisper. "Human children are different," Soren said, his voice barely above a breath. The others echoed him, overlapping, creating a sound like wind through a graveyard. "We're taught from the moment we can understand language. We're taught about the colonies that failed," a girl named Maya continued, stepping closer. "About the generation ships where the adults died, and children as young as 6 had to run the reactors. About the Mars incident," another added, "where cubs like us held the breach for 18 hours until rescue came." The Krevnari's translator struggled with the collective whisper. The words, weaving together into something almost hypnotic. "You think killing an apex breaks us?" Soren asked, now close enough that the alien could see his eyes dry, clear, terrifyingly focused. "She raised 347 of us. We are her legacy. We are her." "Apex Lera taught us that grief is a luxury," Maya whispered, circling to the left. "That survival comes first. Processing comes later." The circle tightened. The cubs moved with an unnatural coordination. Not touching, not threatening, just present an inescapable reminder of what they were. "Human. Do you know what makes us different from every other species you've encountered?" Soren asked, still in that terrible whisper. "You raise your young in safety. You protect them from reality until they're adults. You think childhood means innocence. We don't have that privilege," another cub said, a boy with red hair and freckles who looked absurdly young. "Earth killed 90% of us before we reached space. Predators, disease, each other. We learned to survive before we learned to read. Our lullabies are about endurance," Maya added. "Our fairy tales end with orphans, rebuilding civilization. Our games teach us tactics." The Krevnari's weapon hand trembled. Behind him, through the dome's transparent wall, security forces were gathering, but they couldn't breach the room without risking the cubs. "Standard hostage protocols. You wanted to terrorize us," Soren said, stopping an arm's length from the barrel of the plasma rifle. "You wanted to prove humans were weak, that killing our teacher would shatter us. But you don't understand," the cubs whispered together, a chorus of young voices that somehow carried the weight of millennia. "We're already broken. Every human child is born into a species that clawed its way up from prey animals. We inherit trauma, like we inherit DNA. What you see as weakness, Maya said, we weaponized generations ago. The Krevnari's translator finally parsed the undertone in their collective whisper, not a threat, but a promise. These cubs weren't going to attack him. They didn't need to. They were simply showing him the truth. You could kill a human's teacher, their parent, their leader, but the children would remain, watching, remembering, waiting, growing up. Station security will take you now, Soren said, his whisper returning to normal volume. You'll face trial, probably execution. But that's not what should frighten you. He leaned closer, and the Krevnari saw his own reflection in those dry, ancient eyes. What should frighten you is that in 20 years, 30, 40 will remember. All 37 of us will be diplomats, commanders, engineers. We'll be the ones deciding policy toward the Krevnari Confederation. And we'll remember, the cubs whispered together, that you taught us you can't be trusted with human children. The security breach finally opened. Armed personnel flooded in, securing the Krevnari ambassador. Medical teams rushed to Apex Lera's body, though everyone knew it was too late. Only then, as the adults took control, did Cub Soren's mask crack. A single tear traced down his cheek. Maya's hand found his. Around the circle, the cubs linked fingers, still surrounding the spot where their teacher had fallen. They didn't weep. Not yet. But they would later, in private, in the proper time. For now, they'd done what Apex Lera had taught them. Survived first, mourned after, and ensured that the galaxy would never forget what it meant to threaten humanity's young. The Krevnari had made their first mistake. The cubs would make certain it was their last.